Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Please Welcome, where we bring you face-to-face with the exceptional individuals who shape our community. I am Kitty Hart, and I am delighted to have you with us today. Here at Heroic Productions and on Please Welcome, we believe that everyone's story has the power to inspire. And by engaging with these extraordinary people, we aim to build community. We want to spark meaningful conversations and provide you with valuable insights for your own personal and professional growth. We are very excited today to welcome our guest, Stacy Kupsky. So excited to have you here. I'm going to give you an appropriate introduction here, so bear with me for just a moment. Stacy is a financial advisor who believes that listening is at the heart of both relationships and wealth planning. Her team focuses on delivering strategies for business owners and executives to help them achieve what is most important to them. Stacy helps her clients stay on track with their financial goals through customized planning, ongoing dialogue, and accountability to habits. We love that. Her life's mission is to see more women realizing economic empowerment, taking more space in the room. I love that concept. Building great wealth to affect change and having greater agency over their own time. Stacy, it is such a pleasure to have you with us today. We have been looking forward to this for a few weeks. So thank you.
Great to be here, Kitty.
Thanks
for having me.
Yes, setting aside the time because we know that you are busy. You are Vice President of Wayzata Bay Private Wealth Management.
Correct.
Let's just let that sit there for a second. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a very prestigious firm, first of all. Yes?
Yes.
All right, talk a little bit about your journey to this role.
Absolutely. So being 20 years into this journey, I'll say that there have been both obstacles and milestones. And the interesting thing as I reflect back is often those greatest milestones have lived on the other side of those greatest obstacles for me. So I think about what it has been like to even realize that I should be a woman in finance. First and foremost, that was the very first obstacle. I spent the first 10 years of my career working for small business owners until it hit me like a ton of bricks that I really should be running my own business. Okay. And women in entrepreneurship was an important part of my story and something that I wanted to step into, which leads into that milestone of actually making that transition and leap from being an employee and working for business owners to saying I could do that for myself.
Was there something specific that spoke to you that said, I need to do this for myself?
Honestly, burnout, which I think we can talk about throughout this dialogue, is I was able to witness, and through the help of some of my support system around me, the people that I really respected and trusted the most, that I was going to burn out if I didn't change something. And also, I knew that I wasn't fully aligning with my purpose. And I knew that I could be doing more and I could be stepping into the heart of who I was as a human and what my contributions would be. And that I could live a life that I really wanted to be living and kind of the intention behind that side of it.
We hear a lot of people talk about finding our purpose and it's one of the wonderful things about all of the social media outlets and resources that we have is that we can have this influx of inspiring messages coming at us every day. And so in these conversations about find your purpose and, make a living doing what you love doing, it's not always that easy. So good for you for listening to that, to that tug at your heart. We're going to talk about heart. That's definitely a part of your drive. So other than burnout, what other sort of challenges or obstacles did you have really early on that sent you down this path?
Well, obviously being a woman in a male-dominated field was an obstacle, and we can talk through that and weave through the conversation what sort of community I leaned on. I would say tied to that element would be the obstacle of standing in my own voice there's a lot of influence, especially when you're coming into the field as a woman. There's a lot of people that say this is how a successful business is run. And I had enough maturity. I was at a stage in life where I knew that if I was going to run this business, there were certain non-negotiables about how I was going to do that. I was going to lead with character. I was going to bring my whole self to that role. I was going to bring my heart to it, right? I was going to bring that empathy and that resilience. And I was going to bring process. And I was also going to be building my business based on different foundations of trust with people. And it wasn't going to feel like a transactionary business. It was going to feel like a journey alongside a human. And so I knew that those were non-negotiables as I seeked to build that early stage foundation.
Were these things that you felt you weren't seeing?
I was actually very fortunate to find 2 male allies that actually thought a lot like me. But at the time, now that Kitty, this was 10 years ago, at the time we were very leading edge. We might not have been cutting edge. We might not have been the first people to do this, but it was still very leading edge. Okay. These are things that you hear in our industry all the time now. It's holistic, it's people first. But 10 years ago, there wasn't a lot of dialogue, at least we didn't see it, around what is the process? What's that standard of excellence that you're going to bring? And beyond the industry standards, what is your own internal compass that you're going to adhere to that people know you are trustworthy and you're in their corner for the long haul? And this just isn't about making money. It's about helping them realize their full potential and their dreams.
Okay. Interesting. So, and when you say this was just 10 years ago, 10 years ago seems like it was just yesterday. So that's a little shocking to me that it was just, even 10 years ago, it was so different. Let's talk a little bit more about navigating in a male-dominated industry. There are so many women that have been rising their ranks for a long time. This is, definitely many more years than 10 years ago. But let's talk a little bit more about that so that we can help other women continue to be successful in some of the male-dominated industries that are out there. What sort of specific obstacles did you face because it was a male-dominated industry?
I would say in general, not only the industry, but the decision makers around money have inherently been men for a very long time. Okay. So you kind of have this dual obstacle of you're talking to male decision makers and you're early in your career trying to prove you have credence and that you know what you're talking about. And I was able to lean on my 10 years of experience in business prior to that. So that was an obstacle. And one of the ways that I overcame that was electing who I partnered with. So having 2 male business partners that were further along in that journey and that could speak to, yes, Stacy is an expert in these arenas. She really knows what she's talking about when it comes to counseling a business owner through these various stages. Okay. She has had experience with executives for a very long time and how to negotiate through some of their salary components and then the planning aspect, right? And just the ability that they would look at a client, whether previous or current or prospective, and say, these are her areas of genius, trust her, right? So having those people in my corner to say, trust her in this space, we're deferring to her, in this space.
So valuable. And so I'm sure that those allies will remain lifelong friends.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Pivotal moments or decisions that you believe have really contributed to your success. Can you think of some of those? And I love asking this question because we need to be picking up on these things when they happen. And so sometimes when we hear what those were for other people, they might trigger a memory for someone else saying, oh yeah, I remember when that moment was telling me something. What can you share about pivotal moments?
Things that either aligned or didn't align for me at every stage, I think really are the pivotal moments. So finding out that I was no longer meant to be an employee and then moving into that leadership space and arena was a pivotal moment for me and really took a lot of concentrated work where I needed to get out and expand my network and be around other leaders of caliber and really rub shoulders with them. That was a pivotal moment for me to learn how to be a leader. and move from that employee side. Another pivotal moment would be, well, just becoming a financial advisor, taking all those tests, going back to, to school and that learning element and being kind of hungry and aware of that. Certainly a pivotal moment would have then been moving my business independent. So 3 years ago, my business partners and I looked to make another leap, and it was a very scary thing, especially when the ground is solid underneath you. So you're seeking to unearth and move a foundation, and that you have to really believe that you have built strong relationships, and that people trust you enough to move with you. And so I think those were pivotal moments in my career. And the final thing I'll say, Kitty, is when I finally found a champion person on my team that I could delegate well to, and to let go of the process that I had really birthed for my business. And I had put all of these stages of service in place, and to have someone come in and really be able to run with that was a pivotal moment in my career. It freed me up to be able to do more speaking events and more give back components.
Yeah. Things that you love doing.
And employ someone, right? Which is a phenomenal moment.
So all of those things that you love, we hear a lot of people talk about do more of what you love. So that's exciting to be able to see those things realized. Fear can be, so I heard you talk, there was fear in there, certainly, fear of the unknown, but you did it anyway.
We have to be willing to do things afraid. Otherwise, we never change and evolve. And somewhere along the way, from being kids to being grown humans, we forgot that was an important part. And so to be able to stretch ourselves and be willing to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, I think is important.
Yes. Such a good reminder to all of us. Okay, so we've heard you speak before, and this is one of the reasons why we wanted to have you come in and share this with our audience, because you talk about empowerment, I think, in a really interesting way, and you have identified 3 critical tools: awareness, sponsorship, and circle of support. And love the way that you talk about this. So let's share this with our audience. What does awareness mean in the context of empowerment, and how anyone can employ this tool to help them reach new heights, basically?
Absolutely. Thank you. It's a 3-pronged approach, and awareness is really that jumpstarts us in this dialogue, because if we're not aware of what our surroundings are, if we're not aware of what our actions are doing to ourselves, our bodies, and our lives, we could really be going down a path that isn't well aligned for us. So kind of always having those radars up, I think, is an important way to walk through life. And sometimes that was for me, was pinging things off of my husband and saying, listen, this is really how I'm feeling right now. Does that resonate with what you're seeing? I would say awareness for women, especially when it comes to their finances, is being aware of what you have. That was a self journey for me as well, is how much money did I really need? When did I need to start saving? How did that look? How did I build this? How did other people build this? And having that awareness not only in my career, but also in my wealth journey was something that I personally had to sludge out. And so I'm very passionate about making sure that women in general can move into that driver's seat when it comes into decision making, and not give away our power, because a lot of times, I mean, this is a phenomenon. It's not a good phenomenon. We know the pipeline for career trajectory for women starts to fizzle out as they get to that executive level, and there's a reason for that, because women aren't taught to drop the ball. We're taught to pick up all our balls and all our neighbors' balls. And pretty soon we're trying to juggle so many things, and we're overworked and we're overwhelmed. And so the only solution for us is to opt out. And so how can we help women stop opting out, right? Or stop burning out? And that is done through awareness, knowing how much we can actually carry, and then finding people we can delegate to, and being okay with delegation are some of the personal things that I've recognized through my career and financial journey.
And you draw out the point that awareness needs to come from how things feel. It's okay to feel imbalanced, because that's telling you something. And I liked that you asked your husband, is this what you're seeing?
Yes.
That's really important too.
And it was. And
for validation.
correct.
Yeah.
and we learned something even as a collective going through that, because he said, I've been seeing something for a while. And I said, okay, why didn't you say something? Right. And so
Yeah.
now I had given him the permission to be able to say something to me when things looked off kilter.
Okay.
And that helped me to be able to pivot quicker
Yeah.
if things were in misalignment. And then I'll say the other thing about awareness is always knowing why you're doing something. Right? Having that great intentionality through every aspect of life. Why am I going to this networking event? Why am I interfacing with this person? Why am I building this? Why is this important to me? And I think having that tied to a goal or a habit or a section of your life will only help you feel more fulfilled.
We spend so much time on autopilot. That's why awareness is so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wake up. Okay, let's talk about sponsorship. That's another one of the 3 tools that you talk about. What does sponsorship mean?
So again, this was birthed out of my own experience, and I was early career, and I was told to seek out mentors, and you need mentors, and that was great. And mentors helped me talk through some of the elements and the emotions that I was feeling. But when it came to actually getting in the room, getting the position, getting new clients, I found what was lacking was who was actually going to be speaking about me, or that mouthpiece when I wasn't in the room, or wasn't able to reach the decision makers. Who were the go-betweens? And so women aren't talking about sponsors and seeking out sponsors to the degree that they need to be. And so I found that out of necessity, and some of the reasons that I've been successful is I've actively sought out sponsors. Hey, who do you know in this arena? And just being blunt in asking. And what's the worst that can happen? They say no.
Right.
Next. Move on. Find
Yep.
a different sponsor. Find someone that will be in your corner. But I feel if women can actually get more men and women and people that are further along to help bring them with,
Yeah.
I think the struggles could be really shortened. And so that's why I really believe in sponsorship. And that is a way to place women in spaces where they are lacking as well, is if we can get men and women and companies and industries to recognize the importance of having different lenses and perspectives. That's what sponsorship can lead to. It's just a better end result.
And so I see it as there's a difference between having a lot of people have a personal board of directors. This is a little bit different.
A little different.
It's a little bit more personal, and I see more regular interaction and introductions and endorsements, rather than a personal board of directors might just be, hey, these are my sounding boards. These are people that I'm going to, I've got this big decision coming in, right? Run this off.
Yeah.
Sponsor. I like this concept here. And certainly these allies that you had early in your career, would you probably call those sponsors?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gotten into my first role as a financial advisor if it wasn't for a man sponsoring me and making a connection and a coffee introduction. That was point number 1. Point number 2 is I had multiple people vying for me to get the role, over I think 3 others. And so just at every juncture, I can point to the important sponsors in my life that really helped me succeed.
Wonderful.
And women in my corner as well that were able
Yeah.
to speak to the potential that I had that maybe I hadn't recognized in myself yet. A sponsor can also help, like you said, awaken you to things that maybe are next stage that you haven't had the intersection with yet.
Sure. Yeah. That's really important. Sometimes we don't see things in ourselves, and it takes asking the question to someone else. What do you actually had somebody ask me this recently? They said, what do you think is your unique talent? We were just sitting having a casual lunch, and all of a sudden this question came out of the blue, and I'm like, but it's kind of good. One, it's good to ask ourselves that question, but when you ask that question to the people around you, they're probably going to point something out that you are overlooking, you're just not aware of. Wonderful. Okay, circle of support. So how is this different from? I see a little bit of overlap with sponsorship, but it's different. Circle of support. What does that look like for you?
So you actually shared a piece of what I feel circle of support is. So
Okay.
to me, what I found in my journey is you need not only a personal board of directors, you need that, But what I found in my equation that worked really well was having that inner circle of trust. So that's my husband for me. That's my family, people that no matter what will be my, ride or dies. They will be there forever. My very close friends that know me well, that when I'm really struggling, they can look me in the eyeball and say, yes, this is authentic to you or it's not, right? They know me enough to be able to have those kind of deep-hearted conversations. And then beyond that inner circle, that's where my board of advisors fit in, right? Okay. My own personal wealth advisors, insurance, lending, all of those people that maybe aren't my innermost circle. And then second layer is that board of directors. And then final layer is that network, right? Because we're only as strong as our network is. And so to me, those are the 3 layers of support that is necessary as we navigate through life. So our network could be things like, hey, we're going to this event and I'm meeting someone that could change my life. And I didn't know that if I didn't attend this event. Right? And I know you put on events for a living, so you know the power of one person in the room that you might meet that might be able to change the trajectory of what you're doing. You might need one connection, one person to speak into you. And so just networking events and productions and those sorts of things kind of fall in the outermost ring to me. Okay. And so there's 3 degrees. And that's why it's a circle of support, is you need different layers of kind of to help support you through different processes and decision making. And, you're not going to trust your outermost ring to be able to give you valuable input and feedback. They just don't know enough about you. It's not that they're bad people. They just don't know you well enough because you can only let so many people into your inner circle. Right.
So how do you nurture this circle of support?
Absolutely. I would say for me, that's making sure we are devoting time to the people that we care about. I mean, this gets down to kind of the balance side of the equation. And one thing that I'm a strong proponent of is making sure you set those personal guardrails in life. I'm at a point where I have the leisure, but this was fully intentional, where I only work so many hours in a day, right? I have certain days of the week that are non-negotiable. I'm moving my body. Non-negotiable. I need to get at least 2 face-to-face networking events in a week, right? Or maybe I'm doing networking coffees or lunches, or they're virtual or in person, whatever I can fit. But I have a certain adherence and rhythm to my life, and making sure I'm doing things that are fun. That was something that took me a really long time to recognize that I need to be able to sow time into the people that I care about and have fun with them and build relationships. And it's not all about just the work. Yeah. And you can have incredible success, but if you don't have people with you and good people with you on the journey, it's empty. And so fostering relationships at each and every one of those stages, kind of that middle ring, that board of advisors, vetting them, right? Sometimes we find you might outgrow someone in a certain stage of life. You might need someone with a different set of expertise. So kind of analyzing each of those chairs, if you will, and then that outer ring, making sure you're attending those larger scale events that can kind of fill your rah-rah cup, right? They can stir you up and get you excited in life in a way that's different than one-on-one.
And so I love that you had a vision basically for, after working for a period of time, feeling like this isn't truly filling me up. I don't feel like I'm living my purpose. So you had a vision of what that would look like. And then you're designing your time to that. You're designing that life. In your intro here, I was intrigued by taking more space in the room. I want to make sure we talk about that a little bit because I think that means something specific. That's an interesting concept. But then having greater agency over your time. And that's what you've done. That's what you've built.
And I want to see more women doing that.
Be able to do that. Yeah. So be able to do that with 2 things is what I see what you're offering the world. One, you're offering this great advice on how you can work doing the things that you love doing, but also creating financial independence for themselves to be able to do that as well.
Absolutely. You need the fuel to be able to run the engine
right.
that drives you to that destination, so to speak.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And our time is precious and our time is finite. And I think I've had personal events happen in my life. I've lost people, and that's made me look and say, listen, every single day is a gift. And what am I going to do with that gift? And it's not just work.
Yeah.
It's making sure every conversation I'm bringing my whole self. Like I said, I'm bringing my heart, and we're having an engagement, and I'm present. I'm fully present in everything I'm doing, and that's a choice every day to get up and say, I'm going to be present in this moment. I'm going to be present with the person that I'm in front of.
I have a friend who, when she doesn't like the word work because work has these connotations that come with it, right? She changes it to WERK, and for some reason that's enough to make it's better. It's
Right.
more fun. It's, this is what I want to do. So whenever she posts on social media, she's like, "We are working this week, WERK," and I am sort of stealing that from her because I think it's brilliant. We can and should love our work.
Absolutely.
And be filled by it. Before we wrap up, let's talk about taking more space in the room. What does that mean to you, and how can we do that effectively?
Yeah, absolutely. So taking up more space obviously is important because, like I said earlier, women encounter a different set of challenges walking through life. We tend to live longer. We tend to be caretakers. So our voice needs to be amplified so that we make sure that not only ourselves, but the girls that follow us, the women that follow us, have the ability to live out long, full lives as well. And we can't be change makers unless we're able to turn up the volume, and that takes a collective voice. I think taking up space in the room is also what I said earlier about how I designed my business and said, this is the arena that I really do well, and I've mastered this. And who can I pull alongside me in the journey that complements what I do? And so taking up the space to know that this is what I do very well, and I'm going to live in this lane, and I'm going to fill that lane up, but I'm not crossing the boundary. I'm not getting into your lane, but we can walk through life together because we complement each other. And so just taking up that full space and being okay that I do this really well. And sometimes we just have to brag on ourselves and say, we've mastered this, and we need someone else to know that we are really good at this because they might need what we carry.
Have confidence in that. We need to have more confidence in ourselves.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And lifting up stories of other people like yourself. Again, that's why we wanted to have you come in today. How people are going to want to know more about you. We have such a short amount of time here on Please Welcome. These are meant to be introductions to people who are doing amazing things in our community. We always want to make sure that our viewers know how to reach you. So what is the best way to reach you and interact with you and learn more from you?
Absolutely. So I think if we put my LinkedIn information up on the show, that should be sufficient. And then also my website would be, and we can add my email. Those are 3 great ways to intersect with me.
Good,
Yep.
good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kitty.
So happy to have you with us, sharing these concepts. And we look forward to following your journey as you continue on. Thank you all so much for joining us as well. We are here once a month with a variety of guests sitting here in our podcast studio. But again, it's all about sharing these stories, helping you to progress in your careers, and definitely building our business community. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, remember what you've heard here today from Stacy. Remember to be self-aware. Listen to what you're feeling. Find your village. Lean on your circle of support. And let's all lift each other up in this amazing journey that we have in front of us. One of the things that I keep hearing or keep seeing coming across in my social channel is, what are you waiting for? One, I'll save that for a special occasion. Today is a special occasion. So what are you waiting for? That's where we will leave this today. Stay tuned to Everything Heroic right here on LinkedIn and through